Hello parents and welcome to this video on how to help your child smash the 11 plus exam. These are some last minute tips and tricks as we are into the last leg of the journey with only 3 months remaining for most exams. So the first tip is regarding mock exams and practice exams. Make sure that your child gets at least 2 to 3 mock exams before the real thing, just to get them into the practice and familiar with the format. If you can manage it, one paper-based exam will be really good. Although in the current climate, I understand if this is not possible, then online exams are a good substitute as well. Second thing is, if you can book at least one real exam prior to your main, that would be helpful. For example, if you're applying for Bucks Grammar Schools, the exam is on the 10th of September. Now, there are a couple of schools from London which have an exam in early September. So if you can book something like that, that will give them a full real practice session before their real exam. And that helps a lot. So that's something to think about. Now let's come to the next section, how to increase the test scores. I'm sure your children have given some mock exams and they have scored at a certain level. And a lot of you are curious, how do we increase their score? So there are some very useful tips which can help you do that. First is teach your children not to waste time. We have a lot of online mock exams and we find that, let's say there's a math section with a 25-minute limit. There are children who are finishing that in 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, and they're submitting the test. Now, this is not a very good use of time because whatever time they have left, they need to put that in revising and going through each question again if they have the time. If you get them into the habit now, they will find it easier to do that in the main exam. And we find if children just do a simple revision, they can increase their score by 10 to 15% because they can get rid of all the silly mistakes that might have been made. So get your children into the habit of spending the full time of the exam and reviewing each question they can. Second is to have a complete focus when they're practicing for their exam. To give you an example, I had a student who was attempting a question where he had to add three different numbers together. There was a doorbell and the child got distracted and, oh, who was that? And he ended up adding only two of the numbers and he forgot about the third number. So when they're doing a mock test, they need to be almost in a zone where they're just looking at the question paper and not getting distracted here and there by anything else. So get them into that habit and they will increase their accuracy in the real exam. Next, we have learning to skip difficult questions. So children have a tendency to get engaged in some difficult questions. And if they're not able to attempt it, to keep attempting it, attempting it, and then finally they run out of time. So learning how to skip over an important question when you're short of time is a very important skill. The next point will help with that as well. In a paper-based exam, you can always circle questions which you were not able to attempt and so that you can come back to it later. Now, in a digital environment, obviously you can't circle the questions, but it's a good idea to keep a notebook and just note the question number so that you can come back to it later. Let's understand the psyche of why this is important. If you cannot attempt a question and you're skipping it and you know you will not attempt it, that's a psychological pressure on your mind that I was not actually able to attempt this question. But once you circle a question and you think that, okay, I'll come back to it at the end, that psychological pressure gets taken off because you're not leaving the question. You know you'll possibly come back to it, even if let's say you can't. But it doesn't put pressure on your brain. But you know that you're going to get a second chance to attempt it. So it's always a very good practice to make a note of the questions you need to come back to and not spend too much time on it at that instant if you can't solve it. Last, but definitely not the least, to learn from your mistakes. We always recommend pick up mock tests where you're going to be given detailed solutions because that way the questions which you get wrong, you can learn and next time you can improve. If a child just does this one thing, that whenever they give an exam, they learn from their mistakes, I can guarantee you they are going to have a much easier time in the final exam because they have kept on learning from their mistakes and each time they're a little bit better. So always learn from your mistake after each mock exam. It's very important to have a structured revision plan. So this means going over all the fundamentals and all the key question types which are likely to come in the main exam. And you do this even if you're really good. That means if you're getting top scores in all the mock exams, still you need to do this, because this will give you a lot of mental readiness that, I've done my revision and I'm ready for the exam. I'm going to recommend some resources if you're struggling to find how to do this. CGP study books are a very good source of revision. If you get this 4 set, this will take you through all the basic fundamentals and make sure that you're ready for the exam. Similarly, Bond has how to do books, which are also equally good. And you can also go for our online revision module, which is going to be live in July 2020. This will have video lessons, timed quizzes, and also a free mock exam at the end of July, which you can benefit from. So whatever resource you choose, it is very important to go for a revision module and to consolidate all that learning before the final exam. The last bit is managing the stress levels. So children are obviously very stressed because this is their first real competitive exam and there's a lot at stake here. So as parents, it's our responsibility to get their stress levels down and make sure that they can manage the stress for the exam. There are some handy tips which we can do, which will help. First is to look at alternatives. I know a lot of you are very concerned that your child gets into that preferred grammar school, and a lot of children might be equally passionate, but it is really important to look at alternatives. So if you are open to some private schools, or you can have a look at the local secondary schools, take your child on this journey and do this investigation with them, just to make it clear in their mind that this is not the end of the world, if they don't get in. Now, this is counterintuitive because, we obviously want the child to get in and the child wants to get in, but we're looking at alternatives. But the thing is that if we do this, their chances of getting in are actually going to increase because we help them manage their stress levels. So definitely do this with your child. Have a look at what the alternatives are and just help them relax as much as you can. Give them lots of encouragement. So whenever they do something well, whenever they do well in a test, even in a small 10-minute test which you might be doing at home, if they do well, encourage them and celebrate that success, and never criticize them. So if they do a mock exam and let's say they get a really low score, criticism will not help. What will help is going with them over what mistakes they made and helping them improve. So I hope you all do that and the children really feel supported at home. That is really key. So let's have an overview of what we have just gone through. Mock exam and practice exam, they're really important. We went through how to increase the test scores. A structured revision plan is really going to help, and we need to help children manage their stress levels. So that's the end of tips and tricks for today. If you need to contact us about anything, we have a live chat available on our website, which is usually manned. You can use that. Or if nobody is there, you can always leave a message. Or you can email me at sumit@oxbridgeinstitute.co.uk with any queries you have. With that, we come to the end of the video. So hopefully it's given you some nice tips and tricks. If you really like the video, do follow our Facebook page and you'll have access to all these videos and all the content that we post here. So thanks a lot for your time and best of luck for your child's exam.